a free-for-all between American middle class and the globalists who apparently still hold sway over an administration whose greatest successes have all been the result of this president who has kept, not broken, his promises. The president ordering his administration to take a fresh look at the Trans-Pacific Partnership, putting his chief economic advisor, Larry Kudlow, and trade representative Robert Lighthizer in charge of examining whether it makes sense for the United States to rejoin that trade deal proposed by the Obama administration as a counterweight to China's rapidly growing economic and geopolitical power. Joining us now to talk about what's now called the TPP-11, the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for the Trans-Pacific Partnership signed March 8th in Santiago, Chile, as well as the entire Trump economic agenda. We're pleased to have with us tonight Larry Kudlow. He's director of the National Economic Council. Larry, I don't think people could have been more shocked than to hear that the president had ordered an examination of the possibility of getting back into the TPP.
Well, look, he's taken another look at it. There are no decisions have been made. He made these assignments today. He was meeting with senators and House members from various agriculture states. Look, there's a lot of concern about exports and market openings, and I don't know how the TPP is going to come out. We haven't even started our deliberations yet. But, you know, you can say it's bad, and I think that as it exists now, it is bad, and I think the president was right to pull out. I don't have any trouble with that. But going forward, maybe it can be approved, maybe not. Maybe it will have market openings for our exports. Maybe not. Maybe it will reduce trade barriers for us. Maybe not. I think we're going to take a fresh look at it, Lou. And look, one of the goals here has to be economic growth, rising wages, and rising jobs, just like every other aspect of the Trump program. So we'll see. I can't make any conclusions yet.
You know, the president laid forth, I thought, a brilliant, fundamental perspective. And that is that you cannot point to a single one of these multilateral so-called free trade agreements, Larry, and say, you know, this resulted in a trade surplus for the United States that'll last for the next 10 years, or that didn't result in a deficit. We have had 50 years of trade deficits in this country. We're a debtor nation in perpetuity as we stand now. Without the leadership of President Trump, that would have been the case. He's given us a way forward with bilateral trade agreements and making certain that trade is bilateral, it is reciprocal, it is mutual, it is balanced. That can't happen in a multilateral agreement. At least it hasn't yet.
Well, look, I think the president is very uncomfortable with these multilateral deals. I think he's probably right. He much prefers bilateral deals, no question about it. We're making some progress on NAFTA. I think that's a good thing if it works out as hoped. We're going to be meeting with Japan, a summit meeting in Florida next week. There might be some bilateral potential there. Whether that rolls through, I mean, he's got China. We're working on that. Things look a little better. They know they have to toe the line in a number of areas. So I'm just saying he's in a mood to take a look at these things. But everybody knows these things have to be in America's interests, and everybody knows that these things have to be pro-growth with respect to our economy and presumably other economies. And, you know, you can't have unfair trading practices. You can't have illegal trading practices. That's the big gripe with respect to China. Either they'll change or they won't.
Well,
we'll see.
Let's take a look at what has happened as a result, in my judgment, of the president's overtures, specifically to President Xi Jinping. If we could put up that full screen on his statements just this week, in which he is responding to the president's hard line on fair trade, not free trade, not another multilateral agreement, but talking specifically on the issue of China. This is what President Xi said. China relied in the past on creating favorable policies for itself. We will have to rely on improving our investment environment. We will increase our alignment with international rules, which means follow them, and our intellectual property protection. I mean, those are extraordinary steps forward for China. Don't you agree?
I do. Look, we've seen some of this before, Lou. and it hasn't worked out. But there's been a lot of acrimony between the two countries.
Wait, Larry, I've got to disagree with you. We have never seen China's leader, put forward a statement that acknowledges that what it has done in the past is wrong, it is not part of its future, and that it will be opening its economy. We've never seen that.
Okay, I don't want to quarrel with you on that point. Some of the trade advisors here think we've seen this before.
Well,
but be
the trade
that
advisors
as it may,
that have said that,
be
they
that
have
as
got just a wonderful memory, and I salute them.
All right. Well, look, it was a positive response by Xi and a positive response by the president. I think that's a good thing. If China is
I think it's a great thing. I mean, I don't see the problem with being optimistic based on what we see happening between these two leaders and the positions they're taking.
Neither do I. All right. So if they follow through on, theft of intellectual property, that's got to stop. Forced technology changes, that's got to stop. Trade barriers and tariffs, that has to stop. So, yeah, we now know that there may be some cooperative discussions. And on the whole, that could be a very good thing. Look, the trick here, Lou, I think, you have to trust, but you have to verify. OK, I learned that from Ronald Reagan. So that's the course we're on now. This thing could be very positive. This could be very pro-growth. This could solve a lot of problems. But we have to be very careful, particularly on the technology side, Lou. We have what they want. We have advanced technologies. It's the backbone of our economy. We have innovators. We have entrepreneurs. China has, until recently, stolen much of this and created conditions, whether it's in China or here in America, where people will pirate technology and bring it back to China. We can't have that. That's why we've taken a tough line.
The globalists, the so-called free traders who kept promising Americans that international trade isn't a zero-sum game, and yet we look at a $13 trillion external debt. We look at perpetual trade deficits. We look at the theft of $300 billion in intellectual property every year by the Chinese, and you're telling me that we can't have that?
Well, yeah, I'm not. Yes, that's my position. I don't know. It sounds like we agree, so I'll leave it at that.